want you to be as enthusiastic in sex with me as you were about those guys. And she found that she can't bring herself to that because she married that guy out of necessity. She married that guy because she needed him to be the provider, and she wasn't excited by him, but she needed him. And so she had to make these trade-offs. And that's what women do once they get to be 29 to 31 years old. They have to make those trade-offs. And so what happens is they start to resent the fact that they're with that guy. And then that, because they feel like, okay, I have to have sex with this guy because he's my husband, and I have to pretend that I really want to be into it. And then that's how you get like dead bedrooms, and that's how you get, sexless marriages. And then I think what it really boils down to is guys who get into these situations or get into a marriage and they never have their wife's total 100% desire. Like there's
and they know it.
And they know it, right? And I'm just going to leave you with this real quick, is that I have listened to women tell me about their grandmothers and how once their grandfathers had passed away, their grandmothers were like making these like kind of after death confessions and saying there were just parts of me that your grandfather was never going to get, or he was never going to completely have me, right? Because maybe they're pining for they're alpha widows, right? They're pining for somebody, or he wasn't the one. I should have stayed with I should have stayed with Johnny, but he drove the car off the cliff and he's gone. What am I going to do? I think the best way to describe this is at the end of Titanic. Remember when Rose has the diamond, that big old gem? There's a name for it too, and I can't remember what it is.
Some ruby stone.
Yeah, and so at the end of that last clip, you're looking at all of these pictures of like everything she's done in her life, and she was like Amelia Earhart, and she was one of these empowered women, and then she's got kids and she's got grandkids, and she has a husband, but he's just kind of like kind of just filling a role right there, because her entire life she's pining for Jack, who dropped to the bottom of the ocean when in Titanic, when he dies at the end. And so but the whole summation of this big romantic female concept of love is she never gives that part of herself to anybody else except for Jack, who's down at the bottom of the ocean.
Well, that's part of the equation that men start to look at. Even guys that are checked out of the sexual marketplace and gone MGTOW, they're just like, juice isn't worth the squeeze. Like, why do I have to jump through all of these hoops to not even get her best?
Not even get that.
And we got a super chat over here from Femin Men. He says, basically, you have to use mind games on her to keep her interested. I don't know, guys. It just doesn't seem worth it being in an LTR. And I've said this before a number of times, either on my channel or on Redman Group, but it is more work to be in a successful, fruitful marriage than it is just to spin plates or date whenever you feel like it. It's a lot for sure.
And I think, and I'm just going to give you my standard answer for this, is like, it seems like it's a lot of work, and it seems like it's a lot of mind games, and it's like a lot of memorization, and you have to like remember all of the script and the things that you're supposed to say. And people do this to me all the time. They'll say, Rollo, I don't understand how you can have a good relationship if you have to game her all the time. Yeah. And I tell them, I don't game my wife. I am the game. I understand enough about it that it becomes part of me. Yeah.
So exactly. It's not something that you do. It's who you are.
It's reflexive. It's reflexive of me. It's who I've become. So it's not like I go, okay, my wife is giving me a shit test. I can respond with A, B, or C. And no, I don't think of those ways. I just respond the way that I had, in the past, I have been conditioned to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is who I am. And this is how I'm going to reflexively respond to that. And that is, it might, in the beginning, sure, it was scripts and it was learning and it's like understanding female nature. But once you have become red pill aware for long enough, it becomes your natural instinct. It's like, in the Matrix where Neo says something like, what do you mean I can dodge bullets? And then Morpheus says, when you're ready, you won't need to dodge bullets because you will already be the game. You will already be, you won't have to do any of that stuff that you think. You won't have to jump through the hoops because the hoops won't even be there.
Yeah, a lot of people think The Matrix was like a fictional movie, but it was really a documentary, right?
Well, yeah, documentary. I know about documentary, but it's hard to use movies because people, as soon as they hear like the red pill, I think it's
so good. It just fits.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean,
nicely.
it's an allegory. It's something that works, I guess.
So something that I'm noticing in the chat is a lot of guys are talking about going through red pill rage, and they're unplugging while married and they're getting angry. And I think it's a wonderful divide. Not wonderful, but I mean it's good. You're waking up. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to see this is the reality, and I was lied to. And what's interesting, what I'm hoping to hear from all the guys here is some actionable advice. You see these guys, they're trying to outfuck a ghost. So I'm going to be all that is man. But at the same time, to get attraction and to get that desire from their woman, they're trying to chore play. They're doing the wrong things. Doing the dishes gets your hands wet. It doesn't get your girl wet. That's just something you do to take care of your house. That's not something that's going to gain attraction. So when we go through and we're talking about, the different things, I guarantee every man in this panel right now can't share the reality of what goes on between their women because nobody would believe them. You're not going to believe after a marriage of 10 years, you're still doing this. After you've been dating someone for 20 years, you're still doing that. No, they won't believe it. And you can't share that. But the reality is, when you're applying it and you're making yourself the mental point of origin in your relationship, you can maintain, some crazy shit, for as long as you want it to go and exactly at the standard you want it to go. So what I wanted to hear from you guys, and just kind of going around a little bit, is the different things that you've found have just worked. Whether you reinvent yourself, you try different moves, you're finding yourself, mixing it up with your girl, maybe you break the routine, you surprise her with something, what keeps your relationship fresh?
Why don't we start with text on? We haven't
Tex, how do you keep your relationships fresh?
Well, first of all,
sub app, and I show up at home, and Mama's at the front door.
Well, you guys are complaining. Some guys are complaining about gaming. I have to game my LTR. I have to, why? Dude, if you're out spinning plays, you're gaming them, right? So you're gaming somebody if you're trying to get laid. I don't care, who you are. This is not an overly fair question with respect to my wife and I think, it still you still have to be creative. You still have to have expectations, and you still have to, get in their head. And it starts in the morning. It starts when you wake up, and it goes all day long. And you've read this stuff on, some of the websites. It's texting and, telling her what to wear when you get home, things like that, and just constantly building up to it, because you just can't come home and say, oh yeah, that's just not how they're wired. And after 30 years, you got to get creative. Trust me. We talked about that the other night, Rich. We've all kinds of things that we do just because it's fun, and it's almost a role play kind of thing sometimes. But I won't get too deep into that because we are on the Patriarch channel tonight. So,
what about you, Drew?
Well, this has been said by all you guys at different times, but you never stop dating your wife. You don't transition from, okay, well, we're going out all the time and we're, dining and clubs and concerts and stuff, to just sitting on the couch in front of the TV on Friday night. You have to keep going out, doing the same kind of things that you did to get her in the first place. But also, and you said something that really resonated at the conference, is that don't pursue women, pursue excellence. The women will pursue you. And I think a lot of guys, they get comfortable and they think that they've got their wife, so they stop trying to be the best version of themselves they can be. When they stop doing that, they're not attractive to women in general. And I've noticed, I go out with my wife, if other women are looking at me, she knows that. And there's a definite effect that when we get back, especially, and I'm not out hitting on other women, I'm not out trying to pick them up, but I'll look back, I'll flirt. I know they're looking at me. Sometimes, they'll make eye contact when they're going by, especially if they've got some sad little soy husband with them, and kind of feel bad for those guys. But when my wife is standing there and she sees other women looking at me, it reinforces that. Guys are not going to have that happen if they don't take care of themselves. They can't get complacent. They can't think, I've got her. They have to realize that they don't. And who is it? Donovan, it's just your turn. Mm-hmm. Well, if you want it to be your turn for as long as possible, you have to stay competitive. And on kind of a weird note, and I'd love to hear Rollo's feedback on this related to what you guys were talking about earlier, maybe after we go around. When you're dating other people's wives, there doesn't ever seem to be any of that inhibition.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, because when you sign up for marriage, when you sign up for becoming a father and creating a family, you're signing up for that deal where you're constantly having to work. And the arguments that guys make, I mean, it's a legit argument. Like, why would you want to do that work, right? It's, you know, it's a trade-off. Like, it's what you got to do.
Well, I've been faithful to my wife since we've been dating, and generally have been with most of the girls that I've dated. If I say this is an LTR, it's an LTR. But when I was spinning plates, they weren't all single. I'm not advocating this, but there was a lot of married women. The reason I bring this up is because they would all talk about their husbands, and hopefully this helps some of these guys. And the way they talked about their husbands, they had zero respect for these guys.
Well, they're banging another dude, right? Of course they have no respect.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously with the situation, but it was always similar complaints. Oh, you know, he's fat. You know, he's got no energy.
Yeah.
He doesn't pay any attention to me. So not paying attention. He's fat. He's out of shape. He's basically becoming a beta, or they settled for a beta. But yeah, lack of respect there. Big time.
It's interesting when you talk.
Oh, what's your secret, man?
Go
ahead, Hunter.
I was just gonna say, we were at a wedding recently, and one of the guys said to me, "Oh, my wife won't let me grow my beard out," and I said, "Yeah, Jackie wouldn't let me grow mine either. I just grew it." And it's just kind of the silence in there, when you don't sit there and you don't have to pretend to fit in with those guys. You don't ever chop yourself down so you're at their level. Like, fuck that. Go ahead, Rollo.
Well, yeah, a lot of guys fall in that trap. I told the story once about, I was at the gym and I was shaving my head afterwards, and some guy kind of just walks by and he's like, he's losing his hair. He's got one of those like really shitty comb overs. He's kind of holding on to scraps sort of thing. He's like, oh, that must feel really good when you do that. I'm like, yeah, why don't you just shave your head? He's like, oh, my wife won't let me. It's like, you're looking like this when you can look like The Rock.
Yeah, well, and of course she probably won't let him because she doesn't want him to look, any better than he already does, because that gives her a sense of control over him. It's predictability. If you're predictable, and I'll tell you, this is,
you got to say no. You got to learn how to say no to your woman.
I think that, like I was just saying before, most guys are beta before they get into a relationship anyways. Most women, when they get into their epiphany phase, they understand that they are not going to be able to lock down the hot, fun, exciting alphas they gave themselves to enthusiastically, because those guys aren't interested in a 29 to 31-year-old woman anymore. Okay, they're interested in the 22-year-old women. When you look at the statistics for what men are attracted to and what ages they're attracted to, across the board from 15 to 70, men are attracted to women that are 22 to 23 years old. Okay, right around that spot. Changes. Yeah, does not change. So what does that do? Well, when a woman gets on that downside, when she's past that 24, 25, 26, that's when she has to start thinking about how she's going to settle down. And the reason I'm saying all this is because it's important to know this, because it's instrumental in how those married relationships end up developing afterwards. So if she was hot and fun and had her in her party years and follows the Sandbergian plan of hypergamy, which is date all the bad boys and all the guys who are bad for you, and the commitment phobic boys, which is basically have sex with the alpha bad boys when you can do that in your sexual market value peak, which is exactly what she tells them. And then when you get to be 29 to 31 years old, then you cash out your chips, get off the carousel, cash out of the casino, find a guy that you can settle down with, because there's going to be a nice beta. I mean, statistically, numbers wise, there's probably going to be a thirsty beta right around 30 years old who doesn't understand what his sexual market value is or is going to be, because men's sexual market value does not peak until they get to be about 36 years old. So you get an ignorant beta who's, maybe he's got some potential, maybe he's going to make some money, or maybe he already is, because it takes longer for men to establish themselves. So you've got a guy who still has these old blue pill Disney idealistic dreams of what his marriage is going to be like. And so when a woman says, you know what, I'm done with those bad boys, I don't want to have anything to do with those guys anymore, I've learned my lesson. That guy is ready and willing to believe that. She wants to believe that, or he wants to believe her. And so he thinks he's playing the hero by swooping in there and, saving her at the 0 hour and saying, don't worry, babe, I'm going to make all your dreams come true. And they get together. He thinks it's the best thing in the world because finally a woman is actually into him, but he doesn't understand why, because he's at a state in his life where he's dumb enough not to know what his sexual market value peak years are going to be like. And she knows that she's on her sexual market value decline while he's on his ascent, but he still hasn't realized that yet. She can get him to lock down. What does that do? That changes the dynamic for the marriage that comes after that, because that guy is never going to be as exciting or as fun as the sex she had back when she was 22, 23 years old. So he never even understands what she's capable of. He never understands that he's not getting her sexual best unless there's video evidence of that, which of course in the internet age, you can't avoid that. The internet never forgets. And from going forward from like, say, 2000, well, when we start having streaming video, like 2005 or something like that, when you go from there all the way off into infinity now, you're going to be able to see what grandma did back when she was 22 years old and how she was having, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren are going to have video evidence of what
Tex
it is.
Is laughing because he's worried.
Yeah, I know. Tex is worried about that.
She saw God back in her early 20s, and now she's found God in her 30s,
Right. Well, so that defines, and that kind of sets the tone, I think, for the future of that relationship, because after a while, she's going to get bored. And she's going to go, this guy is nowhere near as fun as my alpha lover was. And I think he was actually the one, because they believe in soulmates and they believe in one-itis. And he doesn't understand what's going on because he thinks that she should be giving him her sexual best. He's not getting that because she doesn't want to give it to him. He's nothing like those guys before.
There's a lot of women that get married and they end up getting divorced. And I've heard these stories because, I got divorced at 39, so I dated in that age range for a bit. And, you hear a lot of the same story of, I just got back from teaching overseas and I was 29 and I felt the eggs dropping and I just wanted to get her done. So I picked the best guy I could find.
Yeah, it's plan B.
It's the like plan B. And, that's the beta. And they end up regretting that 7 to 10 years later when the kids are old enough and the right grade and they don't need supervision all the time. They're like, I think I'm going to get out of this marriage now and take half his shit and keep the kids.
I don't think we do our women any favors by... women have their own blue pill, okay? They believe in bullshit like this. They believe in fairy tales. They believe in the soulmate myth. And at the same time, eat, pray, love. So later on, divorce porn becomes a real big thing for them. That's why there's such a, if anybody doesn't know what divorce porn it is, it's this series or it's this genre, I guess, of movies and books like Eat, Pray, Love. It's divorce porn,
and that's on Netflix right now. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
It's like Stella, how Stella got her groove back. She divorces her husband and she flies off to Jamaica and she finds some the
new one is
dashing, sexy guy who does her right
with J-Lo. I watched that on the flight down for like 20 minutes and I had to turn it off because it was driving me mental. But it was exactly one of those, divorce porn type of movies, except for she's just an old spinster who decides to do like insemination.
The basic plot of a divorce porn movie is your husband's boring. He doesn't care about you.
You can do better by yourself.
Yeah, you can do better by yourself. The grass is greener on the other side.
It's a narrative.
Fly off to a tropical island and you'll find some, young cabana boy who's going to, screw you the way that you deserve to be screwed, right?
Wasn't Kylie written about the author initially?
Yeah.
And then later on, that was in her 20s when she's dancing literally on bars. And then 10 years later, she's doing Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah, exactly. And if you know anything, what her name is Elizabeth, not Holmes, it's the other one, Elizabeth something. I can't remember her full name, but she's the one who was the author of that. And she actually lived that out. And that's why she wrote that. Right. Made a whole ton of money off of it. And then like completely ruined her first marriage, and then married the guy that was the kid that she ended up hooking up with in that book. And then he like jumped on her just to, you know, to fleece her of the money she was getting. And now she's like, you know, this old spinster with nothing, you know, nothing and nowhere, you know. But so go ahead.
It seems just as unrealistic to me that women that age think that they're going to go and do that as the movies where the average Joe goes and plays the action hero, the mall cop.
Yeah,
it's like the mall cop guy actually taking down the terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
They're
mall cop.
They're grossly overestimating their SMV. Grossly.
Well, but that's why. But you have to. Why is it popular? Why do women want to do that? Because it's such a common story of exactly what I was just saying a bit before. They marry that nice, dutiful beta that Sheryl Sandberg said would be waiting for them at 30 once they were done with the bad boys. Well, once they get into that, they don't understand. Yeah, they don't understand. Yeah, he turns into mall cop, right? Yeah. They don't understand that he's never going to be as exciting. And I've said this before, is that when women get into their epiphany phase, you know, that's when they want to get right with God, and that's when they want to do things differently. Well, the reason that they're doing that is because there's a part of their brains, like their id, still wants to go back and have sex with the hot alpha guy of her 20s, her early 20s. Mm-hmm. And then her ego is having this conversation or this debate with her id. And the ego says, no, we can't do that. We need to settle down. We need some security here. Those guys won't treat you right, or those guys don't have any benefits. Those guys don't have any prospects. We'll never get alpha guy to settle down. Well, the id says, but I really want to fuck them. I really want to have sex with them. I really want that validational sex that I got.
Honestly, man, it is a volatile cocktail. You know, often as I think about it and hearing you kind of like walk us through all this right now, and you know, listening to some of these other guys like Tex and Hunter, it's like, man, you're walking on thin ice, and you got to tread carefully and navigate that. And the, you know, like, the payoff is, you know, it could be good, you know, because you have a family of kids, right? You know, kids are good. I mean, we're all fathers on this panel, right? Yeah. That's why we're here.
Well, I think that
but guys really need to listen up to this message and pay attention.
Exactly.
That, well, you got to do the work on yourself, man.
You know, just to answer Hunter's question here, though, I think that the if there's a key to a good relationship, first of all, it's polarity. Okay, you need to stay who you are. She needs to stay who she is. And the more, I think it was Ryan Stone was saying once that it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Like you give more. Yeah, Carl, you give more and more of yourself away until you don't know who you are anymore, and she doesn't know who you were.
Yeah,
because all of the things that made you somewhat attractive. I mean, I'm just saying, let's just say for sake of argument, you're red pill and you know all this stuff, and you want to get into a marriage, or you want to get into a long-term relationship, or you want to get into like a no government certificate marriage, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but let's just say you want to get into a long-term relationship. You, first of all, you have to be red pill aware. You have to understand all this stuff that we're talking about right now and understand the risks. I don't think that anybody who's read my books or anybody who has listened to me talk on this subject, if you get into a marriage or you get into a long-term relationship after this, you have no right to come to me and say, I didn't see it coming. I didn't know she could be like, she turned on me, man. No, you don't get that. You know, now you're a big boy. Now your eyes have been opened. So if you take that risk, remember that shit's on you now. So, you know, no more sympathy. But I think that, you know, when people ask me, Rolla, you've been married for almost 23 years. Your wife adores you. I mean, she tracks me on my phone.
Yeah.
She
can be confirmed after today's conversation.
She loves me to death. But why is she like that? Why is she still admires me? She still sees me. She still sees me as, having social proof and having pre-selection and doing the things that I've always done.
You're also the man that plays Rollo Tomasi, though.
I am Rollo Tomasi, but even before I was Rollo Tomasi, I was still working in the liquor industry, and I was around the beautiful people all the time. So I have a different set of circumstances, but I will say that the key element to having a successful marriage and having actually being a successful father, I think, as well, is dependent on your understanding of red pill truths and your understanding of intersexual dynamics and your understanding of the female psyche, and not overthinking it and not like playing it out every day and waking up and running yourself ragged trying to second guess everything or play a role. It's just becoming that and letting that knowledge become a part of your everyday life and become part of your personality. And
well, I think that's something that every man needs to take on for themselves. You know, when you sit there and you say, I'm Rollo Tomasi, guys are going to be like, oh, you're Rollo Tomasi. No, fuck that. Everybody should say that about themselves. You know, when you talk about becoming red pill aware, you know, like I look around like I'm Hunter Drew. You know, everybody should and confidently say that. You guys are talking about plan B. I think a lot of guys view themselves as plan B. They're like, this is how it is. I'm not plan A. And before I go down that path, there is a quick announcement. Exactly. There's a quick announcement. The 21Con Patriarch tickets, they are launching on January 31st. Tickets to the 21 main event in Poland, they're launching the week after. So you're going to want to check 21 Studios, your favorite speaker, everyone. You know, that's where you'll get your ticket information. But January 31st, you're going to be able to get tickets to the Patriarchs event, which is going to be kick-ass. Now, to the point I wanted to make, and it was the last convention, a guy, Jackie made a trip. She wanted to see it. I wanted to show her this side of my life. So she came down, got to see the guys. And I just walked away from her. I was talking to somebody, and one of the guys came up. He's like, oh, you leave your wife in this room? And I didn't even think about it. Like, I don't care. If she finds somebody that's good on them, see you later. We're going to this. I already told you. I'm going to become Dan Bilzerian, and I'm just going to party and hang out, like whatever. You know, I'm not afraid of my girl going away. We talk about body tells. You know, Rollo, I think you had a series going on, you know, body language and stuff like that. And I got super frustrated because Jackie and we were taking a picture in front of 21Con. I put my hand around her. Yeah, I hit the mic. I put my hand around her, you know, and then Anthony jumped in to take a photo. So they took a photo and I got my hand around. I'm like, no, it looks like I'm trying to hold her. And I was like, man, but when we went to Socrates and I wanted to hear, you know, your view on this, we went to your house. All the guys, they got together after the party, which is honestly one of the best parts of the convention is the part where the speeches aren't happening. And in your house, you're out talking to the guys, your family's there. And, you know, there's not a concern of, oh, are the boys talking to my girl? Is another man, you know, speaking to my woman? There's just a sense of confidence where you know you're the best. You are plan A. And if she finds someone else, that's her loss, not yours. You know, where does that come from, Sock? I mean, I noticed it after the guy said it to me that you did the same thing.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, you know, like Rollo's going to sit down and say, I don't come from normal circumstances where, you know, I was not faithful to every partner I've had. I mean, I don't think there was a single one I was monogamous with. So she knows I stray. And she also knows very adamantly that the only person that has my 100% focus and attention and commitment is my daughter. Everything else is conditional, and she has to earn it. And so I don't have to sit down and ask for a quote, anal sex or whatever the hell it is. She knows that if I'm out engaging and talking with other people and being social, that older women, younger women, attractive women, unattractive people will actually engage me, socialize. And the one that are interested will actually give signals and tells. I can respond to that, and it's in my sense of reality to do so if I choose. I just make sure that I give her every opportunity to outperform, compete, and can keep my attention. And the interesting thing is when she earns my attention, she feels validated for actually doing so. And so, you have an example of going to a convention like that and having your gal come in and see the guys talk and engage. And in many ways, I wanted her to be out there and to engage the guys to see that part of my life, and then for them to actually see her. And there was no concern about it. And like you're saying, is that there's trust that I know she makes good decisions. One of the things that I know I established when I was dating her, and this is when we were officially dating, was that I would go out every week with the guys, and I would force her at that time to go out with inferior men and sit down and say, no, you need to go out and you need to know what your market value is worth and what you can get out there and what the competition is. It kept me sharp. It kept her sharp. And I know that she made better decisions for herself, and as a consequence, when I came home at 2:30 in the morning and I'm giving her a call, she was there waiting, calling, or in some instances calling to come over. And in one egregious example, she actually had this guy that was on inferior night who just wasn't going to say no. It was just beta supplementing and saying, no, you don't understand. Yes, and she did nothing but complain about what an asshole I was the entire night to this guy. He's like, he's such an asshole, he's doing this. She actually had him drop her off at my house at 2:30 in the morning. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I mean, brutal. But awesome. That's kind of what it took to kind of drive that home. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. I'm like, what the fuck's that?
The games you got to play as men.
Yeah, and so, but a lot of it is that if it's not in your sense of reality, it's not going to play out, So if you don't think you can get anal sex with your girl or whatever the hell it is, I can guarantee it's not. You're not going to achieve it. It's just it's wishful thinking. You've got to make sure it's inside your sense of reality. You've got to be able to command that, have that sense of confidence, but have other things going on in your life that interest you, that she's a part of or chooses to be a part of, but she's not the focus. I can guarantee you right now, you talk to Mary Frances, she knows without a doubt that, while as committed as I am, she is not the end all of my life, that if our relationship's wrecked, I'm going to pick up and move on. The only one that's really going to devastate me is, and God forbid, is if I ever lose my daughter. I honestly don't know what I would do.
So I just want to add to that, kind of as an outsider that observed during a dinner at your place, kind of in like the closing nights. This was several days after, and I was talking about it before in the other room. You got two stepkids, you got your daughter and your wife, and like you've got control of the frame of the relationship. You sit at the head of the table. The kids that aren't even yours, they serve your peers.
Yes.
When you're hosting an event.
Yep.
Like it's clear that you're the king of the castle, sort of thing. So that's what it can lead to. Can you talk about the cardinal rule of relationships? Because I think that kind of ties into what we were just talking about here.
Sure. Cardinal rule of relationships is, well, first of all, men and women are different. Okay. You have to start with that because that's always the key. Everybody seems to think that, it's all about blank slate equalism. So you have to accept that men have a different sexual strategy than women do. Okay. Women have a different sexuality than men. They have a different sexual strategies than men. Men are left to our own devices. We're all about unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. Women, on the other hand, are hypergamous. So, but those two strategies can be in conflict with each other. In fact, they are almost by design in conflict with each other. So for the cardinal rule of sexual strategies is for one sex's sexual strategy to succeed, the others must be abandoned or compromised. And so what that means is either you got to like for most betas, it's just completely abandon it. Give up frame, give up everything. Just consider yourself lucky that any girl would ever want to have sex with you, much less breed with you, much less raise a family with you. You're one of the, in fact, guys will say that we'll take it into the realm of like luck or fate or religion, whatever, oh, she's the one that God brought me, or, the angels sang and the clouds parted and light shined down on me and here she is, that kind of thing. We bring it into the realm of the supernatural because we laugh at it, but that's the degree of abdication we have of any even idea of frame. Most guys, like, and you've heard that we've talked about this before, where guys will say, like, if I want to say, hey, Rich, let's go have a drink at the bar or something like that. I got to go check it with the boss. Mm-hmm. They're already thinking that. Most guys are what I call pre-whipped. They're already, even before they get into a relationship, they've already abdicated any frame, but they've abdicated their entire sexual strategy, and they've made women's sexual strategy their own sexual strategy. Mm-hmm. That's why you get these guys who are cuckolds, literal cuckolds, who think that it's okay and it's actually an advantage. And boy, aren't I manly because I'm not insecure in my masculinity.
A real man.
So much so that I'll let a bull come in and breed with my wife, basically. And they think that, honest to God, they think that they get off on it, but they also think that it's
normalizing that really.
Yeah, the media is normalizing it.
Just be a cuckold.
And it goes against paternity. But as far as the sexual, cardinal rule of sexual strategies, for one sex is to complete their sexual strategy, the other one has to give it up. And so it's easy to see this when we see guys giving up their sexual strategy to complete women's, but women will give up theirs to complete for men, because we're seeing that right now, because we have,
and truthfully, they really want to.
And exactly. Well, women would rather share a sexy, hot, successful alpha than to be saddled with a faithful loser. That's exactly the opposite situation, where a man's sexual strategy preempts that of a woman's hypergamy. So whereas if she thought she could lock a guy down, or she thought she deserved better, she would go out and she would stop doing it, but she still wants to go have sex with a hot, fun, exciting, dangerous, sexy alpha. And so in that situation, his sexual strategy supersedes her own.
Now, would you say,
before we continue on, I'm going to
go ahead, Rich.
Actually, Hunter, give me 2 minutes. Before we continue on, some people have asked who's on the panel tonight. To my right here, we got Socrates. To my left, again, Rollo Tomasi. And to his left, we've got Drew Bay, the high-intensity trainer. And you guys should recognize Hunter Drew and, of course, Texas Dom. Just want to take a quick 1-minute break to mention our channel sponsor on Redman Group. Scott Carr is kind enough to have joined us on Redman Group, and we've got Tactical Soap as a channel sponsor. This sort of stuff to produce, the setup you see, all this equipment, it of course takes time and money. There's 4 people behind the scenes right now running the boards and the video and switching all the cameras and everything. So if you've enjoyed what you've been watching with Redman Group, we've gone into 51 episodes. As of this Saturday, we've got another episode. We're doing Saturday night, by the way, at around 8 o'clock, right? 8 o'clock, yeah. So the event's created. Make sure you hit the notification bell. And we have a very special guest joining us on Saturday night locally on the studio. So again, if you're enjoying, you don't
want to name them too. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have to name them just yet.
Should we? No. So if
you're not going to want to miss it,
and you've seen what's been happening with those crazy companies out there, companies out there trying to shame men for being masculine. You guys know exactly what we're talking about. That company there, Scott went through a divorce. He's a red pill guy. He loves the content that we make, which is why he supports what we create. You're showering anyway. Check out with the link that's pinned in the description. With RMG, you'll get a 10% discount on checkout for Tactical Soap. The 4-pack gives you the 5th one for free. Awesome product, handmade United States. And again, it is a company that supports masculine men. Hunter, I'll throw back off to you.
What I was going to say is going to go along the lines of what the theme Rollo was running with. And Tex, you had something, so hop in right after this. But, a woman, will change everything to become what that man needs if she wants to keep him. The example of we're talking about, I didn't want to shave. Jackie's like, oh, I like your jaw. I don't care. I'm growing my beard. And all of a sudden, I'm a beard girl. I love your beard. Let's do all things beard. I want to stroke it. That's fantastic. That's her identity. So when you have a girl,
all things beard,
when you have a girl who's like, oh, I don't do
chicks
that
dig beards.
With guys. They do. I don't do that with guys. I'm not that kind of girl. If you don't accept not that kind of girl, she will become that kind of girl for you. Everybody has their preferences, but a woman will give up a lot of who she is, and she will reinvent herself if that's what she needs from you. It's an amazing adaptation. That like a man, I don't think can do that, but to see a woman go through that and all of a sudden she's exactly what you need her to be, it's a wonderful thing. And if you don't accept anything less, she will do what it is you want her to do. Go ahead, Tex.
Yeah, so we're married and we all of a sudden become red pill. There's this point in time where, at least for me, it worked pretty damn well. We're having a conversation one night. I said, look, I want you around. I'm glad you're here, but I'll be okay without you. And that's something I could not have said prior to, getting into our DNS and doing the red pill thing. And it's freeing for her because now she's no longer on that pedestal and she knows it. But if you're married, you got to be able to, even if you can't say it, you got to believe it. Okay. Yeah. She, like Donovan says, it's just your turn. It may be true no matter how long you're married, but I'm just saying you got to be able to understand that you're going to be okay. If she walks, you walk, everybody's going to be fine.
It's interesting. I think all of you guys were awakened while married. Rollo, you were kind of, because that was like 23 years ago, and definitely Tex and Hunter. You were definitely red pill before you got married.
I don't know if it's actually red pill, but I mean, game aware, that whole kind of weird stuff. So it was an odd thing. So I can't say it was a fair awakening while I was married.
It's probably always better to be awakened and red pill before you get married, for sure, rather than do it while you're at it, because that's when the stakes are real high.
Sure. I think to be able to do that, to be able to say that, hey, I'll be fine without you. You have to have confidence in your own, your SMV, knowing that you have options, and you can't do that if you're not your own focus, if you're not constantly working to improve yourself.
Well, you have to be your own mental point of origin.
I think these guys are afraid
enough to.
Let me just hop over to the super chat real quick. So we got one from Dabby. He sends us $5. Thank you for that. He says, at Rollo Tomasi, girls who settle down with betas in their prime ages like 23 happens because of traumas, or have they suppressed hypergamy?
No, they haven't suppressed hypergamy. And I'll tell you why, is a lot of girls who marry early, they tend to be either religious, or like I don't think he's entirely incorrect though. Maybe they have traumas. Yeah, okay. Maybe they want to marry early because they had kind of abandonment issues with their father. But does that make that, like, I get this all the time. Is when I was writing preventive medicine, this was a very common topic, and people kept saying, well, what about girls who marry at 19 or they marry at 23, and they are they immune from hypergamy? No, those are the women who later on fall into what I call the making up for missing out girls. And so what they will end up doing is
40-year-olds in the
they will realize that
thinking they're 20.
Yeah, exactly. They will end up living vicariously through their single girlfriends all through those times. And then once she gets to a point where she's comfortable in her 30s, maybe she has a kid or two, that's when she wants to explore her options, or she wants to do. There's this thing called the Wild Oats Project. I don't know if you've ever seen that. That's a really prime example.
Well, you lived through that too when you were younger. You said you were dating a 41-year-old.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, well,
right?
she was 41, but but she had, exactly. She had divorced her husband, and a lot of cougars do the same thing. They want to. That's
There's
why
Rollo
divorce porn,
the rock band, right?
Yeah, that's why divorce porn is so attractive to women, because they got into it too early, or they think they missed their chance, right? And that's why I say it's making up for missing out. So yeah, I mean, it happens, but that doesn't make them immune from hypergamy. They still want, alpha fucks and beta bucks. They just aren't getting it on the same schedule as women who go through their epiphany phase. I should also add this, is that even if a woman she gets married at like 23 years old and she still gets to be 29, 30, 31. That will be probably the most dangerous time of her life for the guy who married her at 23 or 22 years old, because she's going to still go through that epiphany phase, except for now she's married and she's looking back on her 20s and she feels like she lost time, or she could have had a different life, because she could have had her party years and she could have done all this other stuff when all her other friends were dating, and she was living vicariously through them while she was changing diapers and going to preschool and all that other stuff and playing house. She feels like she missed out. In fact, we teach our women exactly this, is that you should follow the Sandbergian hypergamy plan. Like, that's the way it should be, right? Because that's how you're going to make the most of your sexual market value years, and then you're going to cash out of off the cock carousel, and you're going to live happily ever after that. And so when they get to that point, they look back and they go, "Oh my God, I missed out." So that's the point at which they're going to probably pull the plug on you. That's when they're going to want to divorce you, because they want to get back into the game. They think that they can still do that. And just really quickly, I wanted to add one more thing here too, is I'm interested in all aspects of the red pill, but I'm always interested in desire and what motivates desire and what accounts for genuine desire. I got into a Twitter battle today with some women, and it was because I tweeted out my belief that women who retain their surname, or they have a hyphenated surname, that's a symbol, or that's a sign, I guess, of an incomplete genuine desire. Because if a woman wants to change if a woman is going to change her last name to your last name, that is an indication that she is that into you, that she is going to do. In fact, for most women who change their last name, it's not even an afterthought. It's not even like, oh, should I or shouldn't I?
It's just a clear and concise sign that she's operating in your frame.
Yeah,
when she
wants you so bad, and that's why.
And you get these cucks out there that like hyphenate their last name to their wife's last name.
Yeah, well, that's just the ultimate confirmation.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the ultimate confirmation of like blue pill. But I was going to say is that's one of many signs that I'm looking for when it comes to, like, if I were to suddenly tomorrow be, actually I shouldn't even say that.
And that should be a non-negotiable for men.
Even when I'm with my wife today.
If you're going to have to put up with the risk of getting married, she's taking your last name.
Yeah, if that's a deal breaker. That should be a deal breaker for you.
Straight up.
Well, and it's not because, and it's not a matter of pride. It's a matter of, is she that into you that she's willing to change her name? Is she that into you that she's going to leave her family? Is she going to, I want a woman that wants me so bad she's going to change her fucking religion. Okay, I want her to want me as much as anything else in her life, because I'm going to be the one that she spends the rest of her life with. I want to be the guy that she will have anal sex with.
You become her mental point of origin.
Not, which you just give it up. Like it needs to be her idea to have the anal sex.
She's coming along for the ride. You're already on there. You're already going. She's there for the ride.
I don't need. People say, well, you need to get in a position where you can have open communication, and you need to ask your wife for what it is that you need. No, she needs to know what I need. If I'm into lingerie, she better know damn well to show up at the door when I get back home from work in lingerie, because she wants to please me. Because she is that genuinely into me so much that she will, get creative and think of creative ways to please me. And the reason that women don't do that today is because we, at feminist the feminist agenda, or whatever, the feminist gynocracy teaches women at a very early age that they are never to do anything for the express pleasure of a man. Because they're supposed to be, that goes against doing that, goes against the independent woman narrative. If you do that, then there's something wrong with you. If you actually are into a guy so much that you would do all of this kind of stuff for him. And I'm not saying that, oh, please, I'm not going to go out with a woman unless she changes her religion for me. I mean, some guys are like that, but I wouldn't be like that. But I want that degree. I wouldn't say, actually do that, but I want that degree of commitment and that degree of genuine desire. And I think that is like one of the key elements to a really good relationship, because I'm still that same way with my wife. I want to see that she wants to be with me, and she still is coming up with ways to show me that she wants to please me, and she, without me having to ask. Yeah.
It's very interesting you brought that up. I sent an email out today where I said, you should be your wife's mental point of origin. She should be thinking of you and how this affects you and how it impacts you, and you're talking about your wife. What drove me to that point was I recently lost my dog, and instead of going out and her buying a dog or her doing her own thing, she said, Hunter, what do you think about this? Do you think we should do this? And every decision that happened was brought to the table, and I had to say left or right, this or that. There was no execution on her end, because she knew through competence and confidence, I've yet to smash our family into the rocks. So she's 100% behind me steering it. So far, so good. What you're talking about with the hyphenated last name, it's kind of like she got on your ship, but she's holding onto a rope connected to the shore. So when that thing sinks, she can just pull herself back. She's ready. She's safe. You can drown. Doesn't matter. She's good. You need to get yourself to the point where your woman understands you can do it. Now, when it goes to the guys listening to this, and one of the reasons I love the Patriarchs edition, is because we're talking to guys who want, so what do I do? Like, I want to be what you guys have, this great thing. How do I get that? Well, we've been saying it over and over. You act. You don't sit there and say, I'm a tough guy. No, you start making decisions. You start having hobbies. You start doing things on your own. You start following your hobbies without the express permission. You tell your wife, no. You say that word to her, even if you don't even care. Hey, no, you can't do this. We're going to go do that. I don't give a fuck if you want a Chinese or Mexican. She wants it. No, we're going this way. Just to show her this, I'm leading this ship. You are with me or get the hell off. And all of a sudden, she starts, hey, what do you think about this? You have an answer. Hey, can you do this? You have an answer. You get rid of the, I don't know. What do you want to do, babe? All that crap's got to go. If you want a man who deserves this type of life, you've got to work for it. And if you don't have it, it's because you haven't earned it.
No disagreement with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm off the soapbox.
Yeah, I know. Well, I again, getting back to the genuine desire side of things, is it's nice to have that going. I'm sure that women will listen to this. Next topic, here's the next topic. I'm sure women will listen to this and say, well, they'll get indignant about it. Like, well, I don't want to be like any man's slave. I don't want to be any man's, bitch. I don't want to be any man's, like that's, first of all, that's
women haven't been property for a very long time.
Yeah, I understand that too. But you have to understand how like women evolved. Like when we were just talking about sexual strategies, women evolved to seek quality. They evolved, their sexuality pushed them into an evolutionary direction that they need to seek competency in men. They need a guy who can, fix the sink and can change the oil in the car and can fix the computer and can balance the books and can, you have to do a shit ton of things. And we were just talking about that here is the burden of performance is basically what we're talking about on that stage. But what I mean is that women's sexual strategy is geared towards looking for a guy who does all of that, who is directing the ship, who is going to be driving the car, who she can trust with her life. Remember when you asked me what about vetting a woman? Well, what's the key thing for vetting a woman? Does she trust you with her life? If you say, hey, honey, we're going to go skydiving and I packed your parachute. Here we go. Let's go. Is she going to go,
I'll tell you what the test of that is. She's going
to trust you with that.
I'll tell you what the test of that is, because I have a video that's it's in queue to be released on my channel, and I call it the zombie apocalypse test. And what you do is you ask your woman, you say, when the shit hits the fan, when the aliens come, and it's Independence Day or it's The Walking Dead, what do you do? What's your plan? And if her response is, well, I'd go to my sister's house and help her with the nieces and nephews or something like that, when you got a gun safe and you're supposed to be a masculine man and she's not at your back, reloading your magazines with new rounds, handing them to you as you empty the rifle, right? You want a chick that's going to be by your side. Like, that's a zombie apocalypse test, right?
We got
a super chat here. What's that?
I got a story I want to tell you here in a minute, but go ahead, get the super.
Okay, let me just hit the super chat, because Henry says, his girl asks if I would stay if she ever got raped. I told her no, because the desire will never be the same. Was I wrong saying that? I have a thought about that. Dude, I think she's already been raped.
Boom.
So, yeah, I mean, probably setting that. She's setting that up. She's teeing that up.
Yeah. She's like kind of queuing that up to see what he would do if he ever found out.
Yeah.
Or maybe she has a rape desire.
Or maybe she is. I have a post called Damaged Goods, and I think that particularly ever since the sexual revolution, but like I think more so like since the 80s, maybe into the 90s, that women use that term a lot. They like to say, I'm damaged, or we even just simply refer to them as damaged, like there's something was wrong with them. They have baggage, they have something else that's going on. And I think women have picked up on that, and they like to use that to their advantage today. Like they'll say, well, I mean, in the Me Too era, you could have been, rubbed up against your breast when you were 10 years old, and suddenly that's a rape allegation now. So I mean, sorry, ladies, I'm not, de-emphasizing your experience, but you got to see this from our side. When somebody says that, you're only injuring yourself by clinging to this idea that you are damaged goods. So when you go and you say something like that, don't be surprised when guys back up off of you and don't want to have anything to do with you because you are clinging to a victimhood narrative. Get over it. And I know it's like, well, how can you dare say I get over it? Well, at some point you're going to have to. At some point you're going to have to say, you know what happened was shitty, but are you going to let that run the rest of your life? Did he do the right thing? I don't know. I think I would have to know I would know the context of how it was said and everything that went around.
I'm like you're expressing your own values and opinion, and if it's something she's trying to line up or trying to find an excuse for, that's what I think it is. But
it sounds like she's teeing it up.
Yeah, she's teeing it up to see what happens when he finds out. Whatever. Anyway, you're about to tie into something.
Oh, I was going to say, it's like when you were talking about like the zombie apocalypse, and was she handing you the ammo or something?
Yeah.
You guys have met my wife before, but there was a time when we lived in Tahoe, in Lake Tahoe, and we used to have a 2-story house. And in Tahoe, it's really expensive to heat your house in Tahoe because it's not gas, it's like electricity. So you either have electric heat or you have a wood burning stove. And so we had a wood burning stove. So every year we had to buy like probably 2, maybe 3 cords of wood so that we get through, because winters are long, right? And but the thing is like the wood burning stove was in the upstairs, not in the downstairs. And so the wood would be on the ground, like they dump all the wood like in your 1-car garage and everything. And so like a tree. Now, would your wife do this? Here's a question. My wife and I would, every year we did what we called tossing the wood. Okay. And what I would do is I would go down to the bottom and I would take one by one piece of wood, I would toss it up to her because she was on the deck we had this a really nice wood deck that was a wrap around to the house that we were on. She would catch it and she would stack it up, and I would, and she would grab it and put it up, and we're doing this, like working together as a team. Like that reminds me of like what you're kind of saying here is like, do you have a woman that will go toss the wood with you?
Yeah, she on your mission.
Yeah, or is she going to say, no, go find one of your buddies to come?
I mean, like you're playing catch with logs with your wife, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it was fun.
Like most couples don't do that.
Yeah. Tossing the wood.
Develops nice grip strength. Good on you, man.
Yeah, and it lats too.
There
man,
you go. Text is thinking right away about the sexual. Good grip strength.
Yeah, that was fun.
What else we got on the agenda for tonight, Hunter?
You want to talk about dread a little bit more?
I was just going to shift into that. I was like, we focused a lot on, getting desire and, striking that up. But when you lay down dread, a lot of guys, it goes back to binary thinking. I've really been on that kick recently. They're all the way on or all the way off. There's either 0, I love you, babe, I would never even look at another woman. You know what? If I see a girl in a bikini online, I X out of it and I block that website. And then you got the guys who are like, fuck you, bitch. I'm out. I'm going to go do whatever I want. You stay with the kids. I'll be back. I'm an alpha. All right. So there are degrees to this, and we can't shift all the way left and all the way right. So when we're talking dread, I call it active or passive. You call it implicit or explicit, whatever you want to call it. Basically, you're being intentional and you're making sure she sees you doing this or you're not. Now, I think we can all agree you can never approach it from an angle where you want your girl to see you. You can't be like, hey, look at me. I'm talking to a girl, because then she's like, all right, you're not going to get the desired effect you want. But you could. The waitress comes by, hold that, conversation a little bit longer. You're at the bar and the girl next to you who's by herself and she's like, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? And just turn your back to your girl. That is a little bit different. The same thing with passive, just looking good. Hey, what are you going to do? I'm going out with the guys. What are you going to do? I don't know. When are you going to be back? When we're done. To me, that's passive. You're not going out of your way you're just, I'm going out. I do things. I have hobbies. I think it was Sock. Go ahead.
No, so dread is a byproduct of you unfucking yourself. I mean, it just happens because you're now taking charge of your own life again, and you're now doing the things you want to do. And it's exactly what you're talking about, Hunter.
Well, see, when you lay it out like that, the guys who get it, they get that. But there are a lot of guys who are like, what do you mean? And I'm trying to go to the very foundation and build from there.
Stream's breaking up.
Yeah, we're losing this. We're losing the stream, guys. Hang on.
Is the stream working okay for you guys in the chat? Can you let us know if the stream's smooth or if it's getting choppy on you?
I was seeing
Hunter and text. Just give us a quick audio check.
I think it might be on our end, actually.
I was seeing the video a little bit.
Are they frozen?
Oh, there we go. Okay, now they're back.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, y'all were there the whole time.
What do they say in the chat?
Y'all were there.
Is it streaming good?
Yep. As we go through.
Oh, okay. So maybe it's just on our end.
So I think it's us. I think it's us.
Yeah, there's also a slight delay. Right. I think you guys are like 3 seconds ahead of us. So when I speak, it sounds like interrupting, but I can't hear you and you can't really hear us without the delay. But the point is, we're going to have many more episodes like this going forward. So we're going to be building upon each one. So when we talk to the very foundation of what dread is, how to instill it, how to apply it, there are a lot of guys who get it. There's also a lot of first-time fathers, husbands who are just, just the pill is just dissolving, and they're like, they don't even know what dread is. So I wanted to start with just a baseline and not a what's the theory behind dread, but the application and what they can expect, when they get the pushback, and how you guys dealt with when you started applying a little bit more dread in certain situations. How you dealt with a wife who's starting to wonder, what are you doing? Are you cheating on me? Are you getting ready to leave? Are you about to jump ship? How do you handle that push and pull? Drew, did you want to go? I haven't heard from you in a little bit.
I figure as long as they know that you have the option, dread will probably be there. And you can say, I'm happy with you. I'm happy with the relationship. I'm happy with everything going on here. But you have to be, basically, you have to be as good as you can possibly be so that you have the option to walk away. You have to know that you have the option to walk away. And she has to know that you know that. And again, I mentioned earlier, when I'm out with my wife, when we're places, women look at me. I don't look like I did when I was 20s, but it's not hard to compete with most people out there. A lot of guys are soft and flabby and not much to look at. But that definitely has an effect on her. But it's not going to happen. You can't force it. You can't go out and try and flirt with women that you see if you don't actually have some sort of value to do that. It has to come from them. Otherwise, you probably just come off as looking goofy or something,
or desperate.
But, or desperate,
or you look like creepy, or you look like you're sulking. You look like you're pouting.
Party.
But we're happy. Everything is cool. But I know. And I'm not out looking for it, but I know worst case scenario, if something happened, it's not the end of the world. I've got options.
You're Drew
and I
fucking
don't
Bay.
push it. I don't say, well, yeah, that's right. And I don't go and I say, hey, listen, if you don't put out, I'm just going to go down the street. There's a dozen women that I could find. And you don't say stuff like that. You shouldn't have to.
It's always implied by your actions and your behavior and the way you carry yourself.
Nonverbals.
Yeah.
They know it, because, and you can see if your girl's looking at other guys or whatnot too. I'm not worried though. Thing is, they know because I would imagine the women are paying more attention to the other women around them than we even are. What's she wearing? Her shoes, nails and crap like that, and they'll comment on it. So they know when some other woman is, eye fucking you as she's walking by. You've got to be your own mental point of origin. You got to take good care of yourself. You've got to develop yourself so that happens though. And if you're not in that position where you're able to do that and you're confident enough, you got to do the work.
It always cracks me up when you get.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna say it always cracks me up when you're getting eye fucked and you're walking by and your wife turns back and goes, "Man, I can't believe she's got such bad hair extensions." Or she's just like, she'll start talking about this shit, right? You're like, what the fuck was that all about?
Cattiness there.
I think guys don't really fully appreciate just how sensitive women's capacity for communication and subcommunications really is.
More than we do.
Yeah, of course. There have been times I'll be at an event with some of my poor girls, and I'll be sitting there talking. We're just talking business or whatever, and some other girl walks in, and I'm usually at these events that women are dressed up, and so we'll be sitting there, and there'll be three of my poor girls, and then this one woman walks through, and I don't even notice. I'm just carrying on the conversation, and they look at each other. They go, "Did you see that dirty look that bitch just gave me?" And I'm here in the room. I'm in the room, and I'm looking at this, and I'm going, what the hell are you guys talking about? But they see stuff, they understand. I think it was Tanner Guzzi who was saying something to the effect that, you should always be conscious of the shoes that you wear as a guy, because women see shoes. The first thing they look at is shoes, because that's all they're about. That's what they collect is shoes, and that's very important to them. And there's the things that you say, your vocal intonations, and all of the things that you learn in pickup artist school, how to be just even to be conscious of any of that kind of stuff is, and you're just scratching the surface of what women are really sensitive to, because they have a natural propensity to be more sensitive to that. But as a result of that, they also have a different kind of imagination, because they're taking all of this information in subtle, nuanced ways, and they're taking that information and they're using it and applying it to themselves, of course, because women are solipsistic. Mm-hmm. But they take that and they create narratives for themselves. They create stories for themselves. And that's when I have some friends who are in no way in any way good shape or whatever. These dudes are just, schlubs. But when they're hanging out with me, or we're going to do a gig, or we're going to work something, guys on my crew, their wives call them and keep them on a leash. They're suspicious. It's surveillance. They want to know where they are all the time and what they're doing. And you're not going to go
create dread. Don't answer the phone.
Yeah, you're not going to a strip club afterwards, are you? And these guys are the most dedicated fathers and the most dedicated boyfriends you would ever want to meet. But their wives are that paranoid of them. And what's ridiculous is
what time are you going to be home, Rollo?
Yeah,
I'll be home when I get there.
Yeah, when I get there. But I would think that even guys who aren't all that when it comes to sexual market value, if you get into a relationship with a woman who values you at least for your transactional value, meaning she's got to keep you around to pay the bills and keep the lights on, right? She's going to have a different kind of investment than, say, a woman who is really invested in keeping you around as a sexual partner, because she's in love with you, and you hit the right buttons from a validational sex point of view. There's a difference between a possessiveness based on transactions and a possessiveness based on validation. So if a woman is jealous and she really thinks that you're going to go out and cheat on her, that's a different kind of imagination than the woman who wants to police whatever it is that you're looking at on your internet, and you're like, oh no, that's I didn't get that. Is this it's bikini models, whatever. There was a point in my life where I decided that I was no longer going to walk on eggshells with any other woman. And when I got out of my BPD girlfriend phase, that happened all the time. I used to have to walk with blinders on, and you know, you can't even look at a poster of a chick in a bikini without her going, "You want to fuck her, don't you?" You know, I mean, seriously, like that's the degree of like, you know, neuroticism that she had.
A lot of women have that though. Like I dated a chick once that I got lectured about looking at a girl with big boobs, and she had big fake boobs. Right. And it's like, if you see a Honda Civic driving down the road with 24-inch wheels on it, you're going to look at it. You're going to be like, that's kind of like different sort of thing. You're going to look at it like, back off, lady. Right?
Well, I got to the point where once I got out of that and I made myself my mental point of origin again, there were certain rules that I made for myself that the women that I dated after that, and even my wife up to that, they had to learn those rules from me because I wasn't going to explain them to them. I tell Donovan this all the time: explicate, do not demonstrate. Or demonstrate, do not explicate. Because women need to know boundaries, but the only way they learn boundaries is if there's a consequence to them. So they have to touch the electric fence is what they have to do. And then they get shocked by the electric fence. It's not enough to say, there's an electric fence right there.
Yeah, they got to feel it. They got to
you have to feel the zap.
It's like when a dog walks around with one of those like invisible fences.
And so they don't learn unless there's a consequence attached to that. But as far as dread is concerned, again, the passive is always going to play more on that imagination. And just like I was saying before, depending on what your relationship is about, that imagination can take many different forms. But you want to ideally get into a situation where her imagination is playing to your advantage. And I think a lot of, particularly beta guys, want to diffuse what they think is going to get them in trouble, right? That's why they quickly scroll away from the picture of the bikini model, or if they see a girl with big boobs
or break tension, like whatever it is.
You know, that's that kind of thing, because they think that if they do that, that will get them in trouble with mommy. Really, it's mommy. It's not even wife at that point. And if they do that, there's a chance that their wife might think that they want to fuck that person instead of be with the wife, right? Well, that's their self-policing. That's their own, that's their own neurosis, really. But they get into it because they've been conditioned to think that way. But rather than do that, go with it. It's like completely counterintuitive, but it's like turning into the skid, right?
It's like
if you're going to skid, you want to turn into the skid instead of with the skid, right? And so I think that when you're working with dread, first of all, if you're not used to it, you have to give yourself permission, and you have to be able to experiment with it. I tell guys this all the time. They're like in these sexist relationships, and like, well, if I did that, I wouldn't get any sex. I'm like, you're not getting any sex right now anyway. So what do you got to lose? When I talk to guys about reconstructing their lives once they've been awakened while married, they go, I don't know how to get my wife to have sex with me again. The first thing I tell them is break up with her. Break up with her in your brain. You don't have to put the papers down and say, I'm done with you, but break up with her mentally, and then ask yourself, is she somebody that you would want to date if you were single? Knowing what you know about her now, is that woman somebody that if you met her in a bar, that you would want to date that person and you would want to start a relationship? And nine times out of 10, they say no, but they don't want to say no. They want to stick it out. They want to find some way to make it work. Well, the only way you're going to make it work is if you can inspire that imagination, and if you can, and the only way you can do that is by taking your life back, by becoming, reinstituting that polarity between you and your wife. So that's another key, I think, to a good relationship. Once again, is that polarity, but that comes by inspiring her. You want your wife to say, ideally, you want your wife to say, I wonder what he's thinking. I wonder what he's up to. Like he's been hitting the gym a lot lately. I wonder why he's doing that. He is, because they know their girlfriends do the same
gym,
thing.
He's dressing nicer.
Yeah, he's dressing nicer.
Better.
It looks like he's getting a promotion next month. There has to be changes, but they can't be changes for her. They have to be changes for you. It has to seem like it's coming like an organic change from within your own self, because if you're changing to please her, then it's a game. Then it's like, oh, he's just doing this for me. It's like, yeah, of course I am, you dumb bitch. But if you're doing it for yourself, And that's why I tell them break up with her and then ask yourself that question if she's somebody worth dating. Once you have done that, you get your life back. You get yourself back. You're not getting any sex anyways if you live in a dead bedroom, or maybe you got a sexless marriage and you're getting it once a month or something like that. You have to take your life back, but you have to take it back for you, not for her. Mm-hmm. So
I think that, so I've never heard of it from the breaking up angle of it. You know, you're talking about the breaking up angle of it. And sorry, Sokka, I'll finish this real quick. But I never thought of saying it like that. You know, to me, I've always said you've got to overhaul yourself. I was like, the smallest things, stop, change your boxers. The ones that have the holes in it, the ones that are all stretched out, you've got to start changing that. She notices that. Why are you wearing nicer boxer briefs? Starts wearing nicer shirts that are it doesn't have to be custom fitted, but it fits your body better. Why are you looking like that? It's those little things that compound on themselves. And all of a sudden, she's got this whole thing. I've got a piece called Don't Be So Predictable. You don't have to tell her anything. Don't be a douchebag about it. But let her mind run rampant, like you were saying. But when you start changing those little things for you, and now that you said it as breaking up, if you were to break up with her, what's the first thing you would do? You'd get rid of all the bullshit that reminds you of her. So you'd get rid of the box. You change the shirts. You change all the stuff that you had that was there, and you would fix yourself, and you would buy things that you wanted and not the things that she wanted you to have. So I never connected those dots until just now, but it makes perfect sense. You got to fix yourself to how you want to be.
If you broke up with her, what would you do? You will want to make yourself as sexually marketable in the sexual marketplace as you possibly could. And you will be doing it for you, not for her. You'll be doing it for you. Because the moment that she figures out that you're doing something to initiate a change or get some new reaction out of her, remember, observing a process will change the process. So women don't want to be told that they're playing a game. They want to just play that game. So if you're making those, and then this is also about guys too, because if you're making that change for her, you're not doing it genuinely for yourself. And so if you were to break up with her, you'd be forced into the position of having to do it for yourself so that you are attractive to the most amount of women, because you'd be single once again.
I have had this happen with so many guys I've trained over the years. It's almost like a cliche as far as clients go. Guys in his maybe early 40s to late 40s gets divorced, and he's talking to me saying, I've got to get back in shape. Well, when were you in your best shape? Well, back when I was in college. What happened? Why is it different now? Well, I got married, and it's all the same story. They got comfortable. They let themselves go. And so, one of the things I ask people is, well, what do you want to accomplish? But then when they tell me what they want to accomplish, I ask, well, how is accomplishing this going to make your life better? Because those are the buttons that I'll push when I'm trying to get them to do what I tell them to do. And it's, well, I want to be more attractive so that I can be more successful dating, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And why did they not do this 4 or 5 years ago before things started getting worse?
Well, it's mostly because they're blue pill and they have those ego investments and just say I do and forever to death do us part and she'll never leave me ever, right? It's got a lot to do with that. But it's like, this stuff that we're talking about, the patriarch edition is for fathers. So you have kids. So if you want to avoid the disaster that is a divorce machine, these are the things you need to do, right? Like, you're going to have to do the work. Otherwise, you're going to go through the machine, and a guy like Drew is going to be asking you questions like, well, when in your best shape, and why did you get fat, and how do we fix that, sort of thing, right?
Well,
you talk about
a lot of beta guys. Yeah. Well, a lot of beta guys get into get into the position that Drew's talking about here. Is they give up on themselves because they think that they can. Mm-hmm. They think that that's expected of them. They think that, well, once I'm married, sex declines after marriage. We hear that all the time from the Oprah femstream medium. That's all we're listening to is these excuses and these tropes that go along with why your life. Women
also like to tell men, like, what are you getting dressed up for? What do you go to the gym for so much?
Yeah.
You know,
because
they like to do that to dudes.
Well, they know that because that would be the first thing they would do if they were planning to break up with you. I'm sure you see this in the gym all the time. The gyms are packed full of 40-something-year-old women who are either planning to get divorced or they just got divorced. And what's the first thing they do? They go and they get themselves into the gym and they do all of these things that they never would have dreamed of doing to please their man, because they've always been taught that
gym and new boobies.
Yeah, that and new boobies, right? But they've been taught never to do anything for the express pleasure of a man. What's the first thing they do when they're single? Is they do something for the express pleasure of a man by getting into this thing. And so when they see a guy doing that, they think what Drew was just saying is that there must be something going on with this guy. I got to try to figure him out. Remember what we said about women's intuition. There's nothing more self-satisfying for a woman than to imagine that she has figured out a guy based on her feminine intuition, what she thinks is her feminine intuition. And so she likes that. When you're dating, women love that. They want to unravel you, bit by bit. They want to, take you layer by layer. And that's what's intriguing to them. That's the pleasure they get out of dating, is trying to figure you out. It's like a Rubik's Cube or some shit like that. They got to figure out how you work. When the Rubik's Cube is all done and it looks good and that's you in marriage, is all the colors are the same and everything's just, uniform, and that's you after marriage. What you need to do is keep, doing yourself up so she figure this out. You got to figure out how she's going to go. I never used this analogy before. You got to figure out how, you've got to find some way to challenge her so that she thinks that she can put all the colors back and she'll give it back to you. And then you fuck it up a little bit and she has to come back and figure it out again. That's what keeps her going. That's that's being that challenge, because once you guys, and this was my main point, is that guys get into a marriage and they're already beta to begin with, and they think they can let their hair down. I finally found somebody who understands me.
Well, if they just listen to their wife role, they become a better beta.
Yes, build a better beta, right? I finally found somebody, and guys want to do that. I have guys, and I have been talking to guys who have said this to me for the last 18 years, is that, I felt like I could finally let my hair down. I finally have somebody who accepts me for me, because he believes in the Disney bullshit lie that once you find that perfect girl, she's just going to love you as much as you love her. Well, you don't understand that men and women base love on different standards. Her strategy. And
what are those standards, Rolo? Why are they different?
What's that?
Why are they different?
Why
versions of love? How men love and how women love.
Because women love opportunistically and men love idealistically, and that's part of the idealism. I can just let down my hair because love matters for the sake of love. So I can get fat and I can put on my holy boxers and be comfortable as I want because I'm in love.
Hey, Hunter, you're going to say something about Till Death Do Us Part?
Yes, you brought up, Till Death Do Us Part, and it segues perfectly from what Rolo was just saying. These guys, they'll kill it at work, but they forget that their wife is a woman. So when they come home, it's immediately take the shirt, the dress shirt off and put on, your t-shirt, take your slacks off, throw on some gym shorts, throw on some slippers, and that's where you're going to stay on the couch until it's bedtime, drinking your 6-pack of Budweiser. They forget their wife and their children, and the kids also play into this, their children. That's all they see. They don't see you kicking ass at work. They don't see you running your multi-million-dollar, equipment this way and that way, managing all these funds. All they see is a super comfortable dad who's taking his foot off the gas because he thinks life is perfect. And also, I just want to point something out. I don't know what you guys are looking at, but this is the first time I've spoken and have had anybody look up to me. Usually you guys are all looking down at my 5'8" frame. So this is nice. I kind of like this setup. But I mean, these guys.
Yeah, well, you're sitting about 8 feet off the ground right now. So you just got a big boost in MV.
I like what you're saying. I think, and I tell guys this all the time. It's like when they want to get back into, they want to boost their value when they're single. The first thing I tell them to do is get into some kind of competition, get into some sort of competitive sport, or I don't care what, be the best damn chess player you can be, whatever it is, win at something, because that winning will boost your testosterone. Because when you have victorious, even when your damn football team wins a game, that increases testosterone, and women pick up on that. Well, again, something that they pick up on because they're sensitive to that. But I think that guys, when they get into, like you were saying, they get comfortable, but they they don't compete anymore, and their kids don't see them compete anymore. Their kids don't see them win. Their wives don't see them win. One of the reasons why my wife, this is unique to my situation, I realize this, but whenever I have like a gig that's in town or something, and my wife has the night off, I'll bring her out to the gig just so that she can see me working with the girls that I work with, and the guys, because the guys are good looking too. And so sees what I work with on a daily basis, and so she can have an appreciation for that. She can see what it is that I do. Because I think once you get married and you get comfortable like that, the occasions that come up for you to prove yourself socially, like social proof, or to show pre-selection, are so rare. In fact, most married guys never have that. So you need to put yourself into a situation where you can win something, or where you can at least look like you're busting your ass trying to win something, and you're competing, because that's part of your competence. They want to, what you were saying is, women don't care about the struggle. They just wait at the finish line, and they fuck the winners, and that's what they do. And that's what so you need to establish these situations where you can win something. Maybe you're going to run a marathon. Maybe you're going to, do Tough Mudders or whatever that shit is, whatever.
Sure, man. I put out that tweet like 3 months ago, and it's still getting retweets. Like it's retarded how many people that tweeted figured out.
Yeah. Right. Compete at what you want. You want some actionable advice for this? Compete.
Yeah, Rollo, you were just saying about your kids watching this as well. And I've said this on a previous episode, but I mean, for God's sakes, if you're a beta and you're trying to break out of it, guess who's watching you do this as well as your wife? I mean, your son is. I mean, if you want your son to grow up and have a happy life and not become the same miserable motherfucker you were, you got to set that bar now for him. I mean, that's why we're doing a lot of this.
Yeah, your kids are watching what you do a hell of a lot more than what you say. There's a lot of learned behaviors that, I mean, our parents learned from our own grandparents, and they just keep doing the shit just because they figured it was, right and proper.
Yeah,
but
we learn by imprinting.
Yeah, so follow your example.
The world's changing quite a lot. Yeah. We see a lot of big changes. Even from when I was a kid, like feminism has come a long way. It's a real toxic movement now, right? It's a real thing that guys have to navigate.
Another thing I wanted to throw out here is I'm watching the chat here, and people are like, of course, bringing up Jordan Peterson right now. And I will tell you, one of the biggest problems.
Sit up straight and wash your dick.
Wash your penis with tactical soap.
Yeah, wash your tactical soap. Link in the description with coupon code RMG for 10% off.
I was just going to say is that one of the biggest disagreements I have with him is he's all about hierarchies, dominance hierarchies, and men just get together and they compete for women, until they get married, and then suddenly they have to negotiate everything, and we have to sit down at the table and discuss, terms for your desire here.
Have you seen that famous picture of him and his wife? And his wife's got like massive triceps, and he looks like skinny little wimp.
Was that his wife, or I thought it was an interview?
No, that was his wife.
Oh fuck!
Wow.
Yeah. I know. Holy shit! I didn't know that was his wife.
But I was going to say is like that. I think that's a big mistake that a lot of guys make as well, is they think that they need to play even Steven. Mm-hmm. They need to, because they're in an egalitarian, equalist marriage, that they should all just come to the table and we're all just going to rationally talk about our disagreements. And, okay, you're going to fuck me once a week, and it's going to be after I do the dishes, and it's after you do the laundry, and, and the kids are to bed, that kind of shit, where they're arranging stuff because he believes. And I'm not just picking on Jordan Peterson. I mean, like guys in general, beta guys who get into that equalist, egalitarian marriages think that that's how they're going to resolve everything. Well, when you do that, you do yourself no favors, because your wife is looking for competency in you. She's not looking for a negotiator. She's looking for somebody who can compete and can fucking win. Mm-hmm. And she wants to have sex with the winner. And she doesn't want to negotiate terms for her desire. She just wants to give you her desire because that's what she naturally feels. Yeah. Well, you're not going to inspire that if you are, again, negotiating desire. It's just going to be obligation for her. Guys shoot themselves in the foot because they think that that's what's expected of them. Now they're comfortable. Now they're in an egalitarian marriage. Now that they were plan B, I mean, we're racking up a lot of real shit here, aren't we? Mm-hmm. They are they were the plan B, but they're also their wives are alpha widowed, and they're not, and they're uncompetitive. So you're gonna be all of that, but yet you're gonna come to the table and you're gonna say, okay, honey, here's what I want to do. Here's my needs. You tell me what your needs are. It doesn't work that way. You need to be the head of the household. You need to be the dominant male there. You need I've told you this before. My wife expects me to be the driver in our marriage. She expects me to be, I'm here, or she's here, and I'm like right here. And so I'm not like but I'm just above her enough that she defers to my authority. She as much as she can give me authority in a modern marriage, I have that authority, and she expects that I'm going to make those decisions. She expects that my decision is the final say. Now, MGTOWs are always going to say, well, it doesn't matter because you can't out alpha the state, and you can't be above. Okay, but to the extent that I can be, I have the most authority that I can possibly have.
It'd be interesting because we've heard the argument about, well, Brad Pitt, couldn't do it, Johnny Depp couldn't do it, but Rollo Tomasi's still doing it. So
I seem to manage how to do
it. Right. So Rollo's hanging on for us for now.
Brad Pitt's a beta. He's always been a beta. I don't know why. People say, well, he's good looking.
Well, as soon as you marry a chick that's got a vial of blood around her neck.
Look who Brad Pitt decided to marry, dude. I mean, look at
she's a piece of work.
You can tell me he's alpha till you're blue in the face. He's got a lot of money. He's a good looking dude. You know what? He can have his choice of any chick on planet fucking Earth. Well, who does he want? Angelina Jolie. Yeah. Really?
You left Jennifer Aniston, like one of the hottest chicks I think there are out there for Angelina Jolie. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, guys, we got to start winding down the show. Closing comments. Hunter, did you want to do some closing comments for us?
Well, I mean, looking over it all, we've honestly got an array of experience on this panel, and all the guys that are coming through. I mean, you're not going to hear this shit on The View. You're not going to see this shit on CNN. You're not going to see it on Fox News. But when you look at it, look at just the last 5 minutes. Never mind the hour and a half or whatever the hell we're at right now. Look at the content and look at the actionable advice you're being given. It's not enough to watch these things. You've got to apply it. When you apply it, things will change in your life. If you want it. If you don't sit there and bitch anymore. You don't want it bad enough to change your life. It isn't easy. You got to do some work, but it's worth it. Nothing is easy to get to. I mean, very, very rarely will you find yourself getting into where you want to go on the shortcut in the easy path. So when you're going through and you're listening to this, start looking at yourself objectively. I love looking at the comments. These guys are married. They're all betas. I guarantee our sex lives are exactly where we want them. Our happiness is exactly where we want it.
You're a faggot.
Oh, that's what it was. No, I was a faggot. Right, yeah. Hunter? So we go through all this and you ask yourself, if you're happy, Rollo just said you can't outgame the state. I don't give a fuck about winning this game in somebody else's eyes. My life is exactly where I want it. Every man's life should be exactly where they want it. If you don't outgame the state, who gives a fuck? You're not worried about beating every other man out in the world. You're about making your life what you want it to be. And that's what this is. We're covering many different aspects. And today was a really good one. And we'll probably touch on it again, to be honest, because I think attraction, desire, sex, that's a lot of guys are struggling with those departments. But as we go through it, don't just listen to a fucking video. Do something when you leave here. Do something different tomorrow. Change your fucking boxers.
Stand up straight and wash your dick properly.
Yeah.
With tactical soap. Check out with RMG at check out with a coupon code. We get 10% off. We're getting, you know what? This soap is going to sell because it is awesome. And it's,
dude, I've got it right here.
Company. And you know what, guys? I'm just getting tired of corporations kicking men in the dick.
Yes.
Like these feminist messages that keep coming out telling men that you can't be masculine.